Hello and welcome to Terminal Velocity Limited. This is our continuing brand new podcast where we're going to be diving into weekly releases that are a little bit more prevalent and more on the mini-series side or maxi-series side. I'm one of your hosts, Scott.
And I'm Andrew.
And this week we're going to get into the brand new release from DC, Event Leviathan. So this has been building in the Superman books for quite some time and has finally hit the main stage with quite a big landing. I guess it was it last week or the week before that the Leviathan Rising came out?
It was a couple weeks ago, I think.
2 weeks ago?
Yeah, I think it was about two, maybe 3 weeks ago.
Right. So this is the new event book, Event Leviathan by Brian Michael Bendis and Alex Maleev. Just released this week as of yesterday, June 12th, 2019. So let's get into it. This was an interesting book. I was initially sucked into the cover page with the whole, tease of the greatest detectives hunt our greatest threat kind of banner that's on it. I'm enjoying some of the throwbacks to the old comics doing that kind of.
Green Arrow's considered a greatest detective.
I was going to ask you about this. This confused the hell out of me. It's like the question I can get. Batman, totally understand. Green Arrow, who said he was a detective of any notoriety?
Maybe it was the original, like when, Green Arrow when he first debuted, he was just a knockoff of Batman.
Maybe that must be what it's a throwback to. So
it's a riddle wrapped in a mystery inside an enigma. But perhaps there is a key, Scott.
Perhaps, yeah. We'll have to get there. Hopefully, by the end of the series, we figure out why he's a detective.
It's the crux of the story.
Yeah. So this one is just kind of kicking off with Batman now investigating what's kind of been going on at, I guess, an explosion at a.r.g.u.s. at one of the facilities anyway. And he quickly runs into what we learn is Lois Lane, but it took me, I'm really happy that the cues were there in the dialogue through these first few pages between Lois and Batman, because I had no idea who this was supposed to be.
You should know it's the intrepid reporter, Lois Lane.
Yeah, it should have just, I guess, come to me, but until he drops the whole thing of, did the Kryptonian, the person who gave you that Kryptonian weapon drop you off here, or how did you get in? If he hadn't said that, I would have spent a great deal more time trying to figure out who the hell is this woman supposed to be.
And what I was thinking, even though I knew who it was, I was like, what's Jessica Jones doing here?
Totally valid. And that kind of brings me into one of the things that I had about the book. So as usual, we're going to spoil the hell out of this first issue. We're not necessarily going to go beat for beat across the entire comic. We'll give a quick synopsis and then get into our kind of feelings about it. Mm-hmm. So as I say, starts off with Batman investigating what's gone on at a.r.g.u.s. Him and Lois kind of exchange some banter about just how much help Superman's going to be and what it's like being on your own when Superman's not around, and trying to piece together what's really going on, because a lot of the people surrounding Lois have been attacked by Leviathan in one way or another. Clark being kidnapped, her dad being straight up attacked. And there's a big mystery about, just what her involvement might be. But before Batman can really continue the conversation, they come across Steve Trevor in the rubble. And again, a good thing that they actually let you know that this is Steve Trevor, because there's not much of a hint to tell you who this person would have been otherwise.
There is one panel where he kind of looks like Chris Pine.
Which one is that? I must have missed it.
I think it's when he's like, when he was when he first shows he's coming out of his time vortex bubble thing.
Oh, okay.
And he's like squinting his eyes and gritting his teeth. It kind of looks like Chris Pine.
Right.
But yeah, I wanted to point out something before we went further. It's something that I'm appreciating with Bendis's run. Like if you've listened to our other show, Terminal Velocity Podcast, you'll notice that we've been hit and miss with Bendis's run, where we're primarily loving the Action Comics run. And then, the Superman book is kind of bogged down in the Rogozar stuff.
Yes.
What I did appreciate here and with his books is that he's really forming a tighter Superman continuity. Like, he's acknowledging events, and I don't know if you know, Scott, because I can't remember if you're still reading Superman or not, but she's actually referencing events in the Superman book that's happening right now.
Yeah, I can, and like you, I do appreciate that. He's actually giving, within the broader DC continuity, he's making sure there's continuity between the books, in some shape or form. It's still it's very loose, I would say.
It's getting better, and I read something on Twitter just before we were recording that Greg Rucka and Matt Fraction, so the Superman writer, along with the Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen writer, they get together weekly to kind of discuss Metropolis and trying to keep everything consistent across the board, which I really liked. He basically posted like that they're like Metropolis, like city council. So I really appreciate that. And then news dropped today, very topical, that DC Millennium is actually Legion of Superheroes Legion of Superheroes Millennium. And it's going to be a book that's going to like tighten up continuity across the board in this rebirth post New 52 era. It's also going to deal with all the, how there's so many different future timelines, and they're all like, there's Batman Beyond, and Legion is now showing up, and it's going to kind of stitch all of this stuff together in I guess the Bendis way. And that book is a 2-issue miniseries that's going to be drawn by a number of DC artists, including Jim Lee, which I'm excited about. And I don't mean to get off topic, but
no, I think that still stays on topic, because he's kind of
spearheading,
a return to continuity and stuff. Yeah,
consistent, which is something I really appreciate.
Yeah, I agree. I was catching up on some of the Young Justice book, and I was, I know it's in some of the more recent, I think it was even the Event Rising, or Leviathan Rising book itself. It was making reference to events in Naomi as well. So he's definitely weaving in all of his books and making sure that there is some kind of connective tissue for all of these things.
So it's really like the Bendis takeover of DC.
Yeah, it's been slow in building, but it's definitely getting there. I think as Jeff Johns has moved out, it's going to become a Bendis world, and we're all just going to be living in it pretty soon.
It just made me sad thinking of Jeff Johns disappearing slowly. It's like every day there's a new article about Shazam being delayed another couple weeks, and I'm just like, what's happening? I'm like, oh no.
I can only hope that it's more on the art side than the writing side, and I would have to imagine that's what it is. But I don't know that. Yeah, we're getting a little bit off topic, but I don't know that we're going to end up seeing that final vision that Rebirth promised. I think we're just going to be shelving that and kind of moving straight into a new continuity in a new era.
Make mine, Marvel. I mean, sorry.
Yeah. So just getting us back, Steve Trevor is kind of gives us the quick lowdown on kind of what happened to Argus while he was there and how he ended up surviving, and quickly kind of drops the hint that Leviathan is intentionally leaving witnesses to not only tell the story, but to help push some of the blame off onto these people, because how could they be the only ones surviving? And it makes it seem very suspicious. And then in an event that I thought was, or a situation that I thought was kind of out of character, he just starts shooting at Batman and Lois Lane.
Yeah. So, like, I'm guessing it's kind of not meant to be out of character as so much like there's such paranoia around this conspiracy that because it's been stated that Leviathan has actually gotten to heroes and no one's really sure of who's actually in their ranks. So I think it was more. I think he's kind of trying to portray him more as like kind of like. It's almost like a Bond-like character, like shoot first and worry about the questions later. All he knows is that everything's compromised, and he doesn't know which one is potentially there to like take him out.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying it's not a stretch because you have Steve Trevor over in Wonder Woman. He's a completely different character. Um,
Yeah,
so it's
that's
interesting. Like I don't know if Bendis likes Steve Trevor very much because it's not very flattering.
no, and that's what kind of caught me off guard is because the last I had been reading was Steve Trevor and Wonder Woman, and like you say, it's a very different take on him now. Granted, he's just survived a building basically exploding around him and falling on top of him, so that would rattle just about anybody. But it just seems
Yeah.
out of character for what's on the go there.
Well, I mean, I suppose Lois could potentially be like Batman saying a good suspect, even though
Hmm.
we know that's not going to be the case.
And
Or
and
is it?
or yeah, or is it? And am I reading the panel right? Did Lois actually get shot?
She got dinged in the shoulder, I believe.
Right. Like I can't tell if it's actually
It doesn't.
she,
I
if
mean,
sh it's
when
unclear if
you
she actually
when
gets shot or if it kind of ricocheted off of her because she's wearing something or
it looks like it pegged her like just like kind of a very how would you put it like a flesh wound or something.
okay, like grazed her type of thing.
Great. Looks like it like to me it looks like it grazed her shoulder and she's just kind of like nursing it. But
Yeah, it's a little unclear as to what exactly
although
happened.
her jacket doesn't, I don't know. It's hard to say. She's
It's
holding herself, so maybe she's shot in the shoulder, but they don't seem too overly concerned about it.
no. And this is when Green Arrow, the ultimate detective, shows up and takes Steve Trevor out with one of his stun arrows. Um, and this is just where there's more dialogue about, keeping people alive and how are they going to help figure this kind of thing out. Where is Talia al Ghul? Because she was the last spearhead of the Leviathan organization. Batman's not quite as open to talking about where she's at, but he doesn't think that she's actually been involved in anything.
He's like, we used to date.
Yeah, yeah. We used to be
She's actually the mother of my child.
yeah.
Awkward.
And then
Also,
so go ahead.
also, she once cloned my son and put his baby head on a giant body,
Yeah,
and that was the beginning of Leviathan.
and killed him. And it's a
Brought him back with
complicated
superpowers.
yeah, it's a complicated
And
relationship.
then
we've got.
continuity folded in on itself, and now we don't really know what actually happened anymore.
Hmm. And then it based.
Somehow the question's not a celestial being, as the New 52 rebooted him.
Yes, and basically it's just kind of the issue ends with one of the doctors that Steve Trevor was dealing with at Argus has been kidnapped or was taken prisoner, I guess, loosely, by the Leviathan organization before everything exploded because of some writing that she was doing about how to create a better world and a better future and the merging of super people and regular people and kind of it got a little confusing for me, to be perfectly honest, at this point, because it's kind of talking about how the world is broken and it doesn't make sense, but she was also talking about making it so super people and regular people could find more common ground, so there's less hostility or less, I guess, ill will between the two factions, or at least the regular faction and superheroes. Did that make more sense to you than to me, or did I
Not
get that wrong?
particularly. Like I wasn't sure if I understood the book really, and this it's very much just a big setup issue for, I guess, but I'm still not sure what the crux of the story is gonna be yet. Because I feel like in traditional Bendis style, we haven't even got to the story yet.
Yes,
And,
that's
and we may need to go through another 2 issues before we actually start seeing where the story is actually going to go about.
that's one of the things that's kind of been catching me, and I jokingly said on the podcast probably a couple weeks ago that I thought Leviathan had already risen. Um, but I'm very confused by the slow burn of exactly what's going on with Leviathan and how there's really been lots of small teas, but no real information about what's going on. And I'm not finding that these standalone issues are helping expand really what the story is.
That is
and,
the question.
and what the ramifications are. And I know that this is issue one. They're not going to give you a lot of that, but this is also issue one of an event that has already had like four, I think, issues within Action Comics and one standalone event.
So it was Leviathan Rising was a 5-part story, and it might actually still be going. I'm not sure if that concluded that last issue.
Yeah.
So it took a while for them to get out of bed.
It's taking a very long
early.
time.
It was very early for them.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say that they're fully awake yet, based on what's going on here. So that's kind of the synopsis. Let's get into kind of our thoughts and feelings on the book.
Okay.
I'll let you go first because I think I'm coming across as extremely negative. So I'll take a break.
No problem. So
before I start ranting.
Well, I'll say that one thing is that I did like the artwork, and I know that's where we're gonna conflict a little, but I'm not always the biggest fan of how he paint, like the painted style of his work, but I think that he draws characters very well for the most part, and it's not quite his Daredevil style. It's very similar, but it's not quite there. I kind of enjoy like the way he portrays Batman in Shadow, and yeah, like
he does a pretty good Batman. I'm not going to lie to you. The shadowy work does work really well. There's one shot in particular that I really, really enjoyed, and it was right on that first page where it's kind of the light is casting back on Batman.
Yeah, and
it's on that bottom right panel. It's a
like
fantastic shot.
Like that could be a cover even. Like
yeah, it reminds me of Francavilla a lot in how in the art. But yeah, I can't say that I can see why other people would like his art, but I find it very it gets a little too sketchy for me, and the coloring, we were talking about this just off air, the coloring feels very bland to me. And I think that might be because I am colorblind. So things don't pop in the same way for me, but it was all very gray and dull in my eyes.
Yeah, I mean, that might play a part of it, but again, I was not initially a Michael A.r.g.u.s. Why am I saying that? Alex Maleev fan. It took me a while to kind of appreciate his style. I do like when he has more solid lines, and when he's more solid coloring as opposed to the washed watercolor look that he has for a lot of it. Mm-hmm. And it's his stylistic choice, and it's probably somebody's preferred method. But I get also why like one might not like it. There's a lot not defined in his drawings. So I mean, I'm not an art critic, so I can't. I couldn't do this.
Oh,
but
I wouldn't have a hope in hell of sketching even the smallest fiber of this. But
I do think that his style lends itself well to a noir mystery, and that's very much what they're trying to set up here. Now, in terms of the story, this is the part I enjoyed reading this. I don't really know where the story is actually going to go. I don't know how much of what's on the panel that we can trust at this point, and I think that's by design. Like we're not supposed to know really anything. Now there's not in the book, but in solicitations and whatnot, and news stories and rumors, it's like they're hinting at the idea that the head of Leviathan is Jason Todd, which I blatantly don't believe. Like it's just how many times is he going to be the lead of some rogue faction? And that, I think that they're also hinting at that because of the similarities in the mask, and he's kind of on the outs with the Bat family. And
yeah, Jason Todd's not that smart.
I am curious to see who this character is going to be. Like, I know they want you to kind of think it's a man, and the clothing is very big, and the cape and everything, so you can't really gauge the body type. It very well could be a woman.
I would hope it does, just for a little bit of diversity, because I think And this is turning from a Superman villain into a Batman villain, I feel like. Um, and I hope it turns out to be something other than it subverts expectations
Mm-hmm.
and gives us something different. Because I don't want another male protagonist that's a master chess player for Batman to go up against.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I mean, see where it's gonna go. Yeah, I'm on board for issue two. I don't think that I think there's enough here for me to kind of latch onto and kind of be invested enough to want to see where it goes. I very much believe that the events of this are supposed to kind of reset the intelligence world of the DC
Right.
universe. Like that was one of the things that I think it was an article I read where Bendis was like, we have to fix like the fact that there's 100 different intelligence agencies running around in the DCU. It just doesn't make any sense.
I can agree with that. And I can, especially from Bendis coming from a world where there's like one intelligence agency that you have to deal
Yeah.
with. I think that makes a lot more sense. I think I disagree a little bit with you on that. There's really anything in here to hold on um, to really make you come back for anything more. Only because we've had 5 issues of basically this exact same story. We had another single issue event that is essentially this exact same story. This is just another retelling of an event that we still have. There's not even a hint of really why we should be coming back. That's kind of how I feel. And I know Bendis will probably pull it out and something will be worthwhile, but I don't think that this was the strongest event issue to pull you in.
No, and I
I'm
think that.
also I,
Go
I
ahead.
also think it's a bold choice to remove Superman from the equation when we've spent so long in the super books dealing with Leviathan when it hasn't been touched on anything else. And I kind of disagree with that approach. I think to show that this was actually a threat, and while I do appreciate the fact that he's bringing continuity within his own books, I don't think it's doing any justice to the event by pulling Superman out of it when it's been building up for so long inside the super books.
Well, I don't think it's so much pulling him. I think he's trying to up the profile of Lois Lane, like to kind of make her stand out on her own. Uh, he's going to play a part in this. Like, it's very much rooted in the Superman books. Like I have no doubt about that. I think that he's giving Lois a chance to shine here while he wraps up the Rogol Zar Death of Krypton Unity Saga thing that he was working on in the other book, and I think that it's all gonna come to head. Um, this is like Lois Lane is getting her own. I think it's a mini series at this point. I think that's a lot of mini
Yeah.
series coming out of DC lately. Um,
Yeah, they're testing the waters with
yeah,
a lot of different things.
and I don't know for some reason. I guess it's a combination of the 5-part Action Comics story, and the one shot that has got me kind of already wanting to know where this is going to go. So maybe it's not so much just this one issue that has got me curious. Um, I do like the characters that are involved in it. I mean, I've always been a Green Arrow fan. I've always been a Question fan. Lois, Batman.
Mhm.
We're getting Manhunter. Thank God, one of my favorite characters. Uh, all coming playing prominent role in this story. So I think that's maybe more why I'm invested. I will say that I am intrigued at the idea of a Greg Rucka written Lois Lane book. I think it's a good choice, and this is kind of feels like it's set up for her I guess role to be in the DC universe
Right, to be Jessica Jones.
instead of her just being Superman's wife.
Yeah, I think this is where I do land on the other side of things where I think like, okay, we've spent enough time dealing with this storyline. Give us something already. Give us a little something more. And while I do like the Lois Lane character, I don't know that we need a Jessica Jones book in the DC.
Hey, Lois Lane is the original Jessica Jones here.
I know that.
Let's.
I know. But I just like I don't know. I've I think it's just that it doesn't have the spirit of fun in it, and I'm right now I'm just tapped out on like mysteries and explosions and everybody dying and the world being on the brink of destruction without any fun in the book.
Well, that's the
Um,
thing is it's all going to come together with DC Millennium. I'm telling you, you can't have the Legion of Superheroes and not be fun.
and I'm all for that, and I hope that's what it comes to. Because I mean, you get plenty of fun from Young Justice. There are definitely moments and sparks of it through Action and Superman.
Well, here I'll put an analogy here. Think of Bendis as that little arm that comes down at the bowling alley when it comes to like knock away the discarded pins.
hmm
It's like this is what he is to DC right now. He's coming down and he's like swooping through and he's gonna trim the fat, get rid of what he doesn't need, and we're gonna see probably a bolder, more concise vision of the DC universe. I mean, you don't bring in the guy that created the Ultimate Universe to just to write a couple books here and there.
Fair enough, and I guess I'm just worried that we're getting some kind of Superman disassembled type of thing.
Yeah,
But
that's
again,
kind of
maybe
where I
it's
fell off with Bendis too.
yeah, and I think that's just kind of where maybe I'm just a little crusty this week, but that's kind of maybe I'm just too tired. But I,
Hey,
I I read the
at
book and I was
least
just
more
like,
happened in this than in like 20 issues of Tom King's run.
this is yes, this definitely moved faster than something like Nightmares did. That I will get behind you.
That story was 2 years long, right? It was 24 issues, right?
Yes, I started off with one gray hair and now I've got 15. um,
I say all this as I'm actually becoming more and more interested in his Batman Catwoman series, but
and I am becoming increasingly less interested in it. I think
I'm
this is
easy.
just
I'm
the
easy to
day.
please. Like you're
This
giving me
is the day
the
where we're
the
falling
pairing
on, we're falling
that's
on
the pairing I
opposite
want.
sides.
You're giving me Phantasm. Like, yeah, I'm good.
Phantasm, I'm on board for. It's the other stuff that I just don't know about.
Hey,
Um,
this is the same guy that did Mr. Miracle in a 12 issue run.
and the Vision
He's
and Vision, which was phenomenal.
he's concise enough. When you just say, "Hey, here's the barn. Go nuts." Maybe
Yeah,
that's too much.
maybe. Okay. All right,
That
let's move
you
on
really went
to
on a tangent there. I have got a
let's
question
move
for
on.
you. What's
Okay.
your theory for the identity of Leviathan?
Oh, fuck. I have no idea. I mean, I don't, I feel like they haven't given you one iota of a hint of who this could be outside of Leviathan Rising a couple weeks ago, where the person had the technology where their appearance was constantly changing. Um, I'm desperately trying to rack my brain if this is just like a new appearance or a reinvigorating of an old villain. Um, but I can't come up with who the hell this could be.
I
So
I didn't have a theory till just now, and it's still not a theory, but it's more like a Hail Mary. I'm throwing out there Amanda Waller.
could be. It could be Amanda Waller.
She's like, enough with this multiple agencies. I'm going to consolidate power and by controlling it from within.
I was wondering if it's going to be like a reintroduction of Brother Eye or something like that.
Oh,
Um,
please no. I mean, we're already
just
getting
because it,
Mac, the soldier guy or whatever. But
I know, and then but we've got the big soldier thing that appears in here that uses the technology. Clearly, it's something coming from space that's helping to blow up these facilities. I was just
that's
like,
why I'm saying I still think it's Amanda Waller.
I'll go with two options. One is the Toy Man. Two is
Okay, that's a
is
real wild card.
just because it's got
Winslow Slot,
Winslow Slot.
master of all agencies, spy agencies.
Yeah, and no, but seriously, I think it could be something like I'll just say Brother Eye. Why not? What the hell? I got nothing to lose on this one.
So Brother Eye or Amanda Waller.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I think we've nailed it, Scott.
I think so. Maybe they're working together. Boom.
Maybe, yeah, it could be.
We've just
Maybe,
solved it.
Commissioner Gordon's in there too.
Maybe he is. Batman will punch him. Guaranteed Batman punches him in this series.
It actually happened. That's why he started. He got fed up with the capes, and he's like, I'm going to take over it all. I'll be commissioner of everything.
Very cool. Okay, so let's move into ratings for this one, and if we're gonna be continuing.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna continue with it at least for another 2 issues. Like I said, Bendis is all you have to. Anytime you commit to a book of his, you have to know there's an end game. Sometimes it lands, sometimes it doesn't, but you gotta kind of stick around a bit to kind of see where it might go. I'm gonna give this though three sky death lasers from above.
Okay, fair enough. I am going to stick with it for at least one other issue, simply for the podcast. I don't think that it had enough in there for me otherwise, but I'll hang in there for at least another issue to see where things are going. And I will give it 2.5 creepy Leviathan masks out of 5.
Okay.
All right. So that was our thoughts and opinions on the issue. If you have any thoughts or opinions that you want to share with us and kind of give us an idea of who you think Leviathan might actually be, then by all means, send us an email at Terminal Velocity Podcast.
I just broke it, Scott. It's Wally West while he's time traveling to cover up his crimes. Remember he said he had to do something better than killing all those people? Well,
maybe this is it. This is it. Him and Lagoon Boy. Yeah.
Sorry.
Send us an email at terminalvelocitypodcast@gmail.com with your guess as to who this might be. Or as always, leave a comment, review, or rating on your podcatcher of choice. You can find us on iTunes or any of the other podcatchers.
And you can follow us at Comics Terminal on Twitter and Terminal Velocity Podcast on all the other social media outlets. Just let us know what you think. I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions, and hope you like the show.
Yeah, and tune in again on Sunday for our regular Terminal Velocity comic book podcast, where we're going to be covering something new that we haven't really gone into this character too much, and we're going to be dealing with Spider-Man Blue this week. So a little spoiler for anybody that's stuck into the end here. We haven't actually done too many Spider books that I can think of. So
we did the 6-Arm Saga. We did Ultimate Spider-Man. We did Maximum Carnage. We did.
Oh shit! I am totally proven wrong. I'm thinking maybe I'm thinking good ones.
That is the quest. That is the mystery, and the quest we have set out to do is to find the great Spider-Man story. I don't think we found it yet.
Holy shit! How did I forget those other ones?
I am pretty sure I've forgotten other ones too. So it's been a while now.
All right, we'll completely forget that. A character that we've covered a few times.
But we must never be fully removed from DC and Batman because it's being done by the creative team of Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale.
Yeah. So it should be a good
one. Long Halloween.
Yeah. Should be a good one. So tune in and yeah. That's really funny. I can't believe I forgot those. Wow. Did I mention I'm tired? And a little bit crusty, so I think this is definitely coming through.
It shows.
It shows. All right. Well, until next time, you guys stay off my lawn.
Yep. Take care.
Bye.